We could see a little plaque.
We can. Yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
Just yeah.
Can you hear and see me?
We can tell you're there, but we can't hear you very well.
Okay. Do colleagues mind just bearing with me a second while I just test it? Harris, is that any better?
It is, but it's obviously a bad connection, Lisa. Do you want to make a start and we'll see how we go? And if it doesn't get any better or it does get worse, we'll maybe try with your camera off. I know that's not ideal, but that sometimes works, doesn't it?
Yeah, lead it. No, sorry, guys.
I think not so off anyway, and we'll try.
Okay.
I was going to suggest keep the camera off. You'll get better, at least we get voice connection, and that may help.
Yeah. Okay, should we make a start then, monitoring officer? Apologies.
Yeah, yes, please. You go ahead, Lita, as soon as you're ready.
Lovely, thank you. Well, good afternoon. Apologies once again, but welcome to our Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Cabinet meeting for today, Wednesday, the 3rd of February. Please note it is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. And just a reminder, the images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Colleagues, can I go straight to agenda item number 1, please, and see if there are any apologies for absence?
Chair, no apologies for absence have been received.
Thank you. And secondly, agenda item number 2, declarations of interest, and just to remind everybody, their personal responsibility, prejudicial interest in respect of matters in accordance with the provisions of Government and Finance Act 1992 and relating to other tax acts as well, and of course the Council's Constitution and the Members' Code of Conduct. Colleagues, are there declarations of interest?
Councillor Barry?
Yeah, Chair, Monitoring Officer, item 5, I want to declare an interest in the school transport contracts award delegated authority. I own a contract taxi company. And we currently have a school contract, so I'll be withdrawing from the meeting at that stage.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. If I can just remind everybody, Leader, that the way we deal with that is if you turn off your mic and your camera, that will count as you being out of the meeting and not able to influence the meeting. So if you can just do that when we get to that item, please, Councillor Barry.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Caris. Okay, we'll move straight into the open session then, please. And just strategically, first of all, agenda item number 3, and that is the Revenue Budget 2021-22. And I believe, Councillor Barry, you're taking us through this.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The Revenue Budget 21-22. With financial uncertainties present, the report only deals with 21-22. There will be a report on the medium-term financial plan for the coming years, and I'll bring that to Cabinet and full Council once we have more clarity about the future financial picture. Myself and Steve will already begin conversations with that, but we will get back to you. Budget Board 15th of January, we went through these papers. Councillor workshops 21st of January, joint governance and audits 27th of January, so line by line. The deficit of 3.582 million. As reported, medium-term financial plan of March 2020. Interestingly, the deficit identified at January 2019 was nearly 14 million, but currently the budget surplus position of £394,000 places us in an excellent position to approach the coming financial years and the challenges ahead. The service efficiencies at item 31, the HWRC probably had the most input through the councillor workshops, including Councillor Bill Smith, Councillor Ian Thomas, Brent Carter, Julian Amos and Clive Jones, all contributing and finding basically cross-party support for a change in that item. So as a result, Councillor David Hughes, Cabinet Member for the portfolio, in consultation with Judith, our lead officer, and the Cabinet have withdrawn that item, so I'll refer to that under the recommendations. I'll go straight to the recommendations. The recommendations are 2.1 to 2.6. 2.1, the implications of the provisional local government settlement for 21-22 outlined in section 5 and appendix 1 to 3 be noted and accepted. 2.2, the net additional demands of 623,000 outlined in section 5 and appendix 4 be recommended to council for approval. 2.3, the capacity exercise proposals totaling 705,000 outlined in section 5 and appendix 5 be recommended to council for approval. 2.4, the corporate vacancy factor increase of 150,000 outlined in section 5 be recommended to council for approval. 2.5, the increase of 350,000 from the employee severance costs outlined in section 5 be recommended to council for approval. And finally, 2.6, the service efficiencies I referred to earlier with the HMRC, the HWRC, sorry. The service efficiencies of 1.041 million outlined in section 5 and appendix 6, subject to the removal of item 31, household waste recycling centres, and the 15,000 for 21-22, and the corresponding adjustment to that 1.41 million be recommended to council for approval. I move the proposals to be approved and taken to full council. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yeah, Chair, and in seconding the recommendations, I just wanted to commend all of the officers of the council, Ellis, all of the chief officers, Steve and his team in accountancy for their continued sterling and hard work that goes on behind the scenes in terms of pulling together all of these reports, facilitating and servicing members and our questions and queries at the various workshops. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. It is appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Davis, and noted and supported. So thank you for that, and thank you, Ellis. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to this item? No? Okay. Are there any comments in relation to this item?
Councillor Thomas, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to support Councillor Barry bringing this report today. You know, it's been hard work. You know, it's been hard work this year. You know, making the savings that we've done, and we've got to thank the officers for their approach to this, and the future of the council. And you know, it's going to run in conjunction with our recovery and transformation plan going forward. You know, so making Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council a sustainable authority long into the future. So yeah, thank everybody for their hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. And Councillor David Hughes, I can see your hand up as well. Do you have a comment to make?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just like to offer my thanks also to the officers and also the staff who work diligently through this time, these hard times. Also through the, you know, the mass testing and the support we've had from our staff and our officers. I'd just like to thank them, and you know, the future is looking brighter than what it was. So let's thank you all for all your hard work and your diligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. And are there any other comments or anybody else that wishes to comment, please? No. Councillor Hughes, can I ask you to take your hand down then, please, just while we move? Thank you for that. Okay. I can't see that anybody else has put their hand up to comment. May I add, as chair and leader, that I also support the comments made by my colleagues in relation to all of our officers and hard work put together in relation to the revenue budget. So thank you for that. Colleagues, we'll move on to the vote then, and I will ask, would all councillors in agreement with the recommendation please raise their hand?
I think that's complete, Chair, and that's carried.
Thank you, monitoring officer. Please take your hands down then, please, colleagues. That's lovely. Thank you. Okay, we move on to portfolio items then, and I move on to agenda item number 4. That is to look at the Valleys Task Force COVID recovery for smaller town centres to consider a report of the Interim Deputy Chief Executive. I understand, Councillor Geraint-Thomas, you're taking us through this report?
Yes, I am, Chair. I'm just going through that long report now from Andrew Barry's there to get to mine, really. So give me a couple of seconds.
Of course.
Okay, the Valley Task Force COVID recovery for smaller.
You okay?
Yeah, Valley Task Force COVID recovery for small town centres. This is a real great project that's come our way through the Valley's Task Force. We were fortunate enough to receive over £300,000 in funding to aid our recovery out of COVID. And the good news is it's not only the town centre that's going to benefit, it's going to be our smaller towns and villages around Merthyr Tydfil. So there's going to be business supported from as far north as Ponstycyth, all the way down to Quakers Yard. So it's really, really good news. I'm going to go to the recommendations in a second, but before I do, I'd like to say, you know, again, due to some excellent work from the officers, we're going to receive this monies, but we were so oversubscribed that we went back for more, and that's been approved as well. So I imagine there'll be another report coming, and perhaps Alan can allude to that later now in the comments and questions. So if I take you to the recommendations, Chair, the award of funding for the Valley's Task Force COVID recovery for smaller town centres is approved. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Do I have a seconder to that report, please?
Yeah, Chair, I'm absolutely delighted to second this excellent report, and just to say, the fantastic work that this council has done, both officers and members, in terms of supporting businesses throughout the pandemic. I think it's really galvanised and brought departments across Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council together to deliver, and more importantly, support and get much needed resources, finances and support to businesses. This is absolutely tremendous achievement for us all that we should be very proud of. I think Councillor Barry will tell me, and Councillor Thomas, because they've been closely involved, but we've been obviously in the top quartile of performing organisations. So I'm delighted we've gone back for further money to support businesses, and I'm really pleased to second the recommendations of this report.
Thank you so much, Councillor Davis. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to this report? I can't see any hands up, so I'll move straight into comments. Are there any comments or observations? Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to support Councillor Thomas in this with this report. It's been absolutely sterling work by these guys. I can't praise them highly enough. In terms of Councillor Davis's comments about top quarter, number one, Councillor Davis, we are number one. Along with Powys, my last recollection was we were top of the chop. The issue for me in this is that we've come so far in the last 11, 12 months. It's a different council where perhaps previously we sat on the edge of the local economy, the local business economy, looking in and sometimes supporting. Where we find ourselves now, Chair, is at the centre of the local economy, where people come to us for the information, they look to us for a lead, and we are central players in our economy, somewhere where we aspired to be, and thought it would take us a while to get there. But with the work that's been done by the staff of this authority, and I'd like to single out a few there in revenues, benefits, and in regen, the work that they've done has put us right at the centre of the local economy and in a position where we can help drive this town and this authority as a regionally important centre into the future, and not just on the periphery of the local economy looking in. Sterling work by everybody. Congratulate Geraint on bringing this report. There will be more reports on the Valley's Task Force, I'm sure, because we are so centrally involved in working with them to bring this money directly to the businesses of this town. So well done, Councillor Thomas, and well done all staff involved in this tremendous piece of work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Colleagues, are there any further comments? Monitoring officer, I can't see any other hands up.
No, there aren't any
So
others.
I think I would be correct. Okay, thank you so much. In that case then, colleagues, I'll ask the vote. So would all councillors in agreement with the recommendation please raise your hand on the screen?
And that's complete and that's carried, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Barry, may I remind you, you now need to mute and take yourself off camera as you have declared an interest in the agenda item. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that and leave this Teams meeting for the time being. Okay. So we move on to agenda item number 5, and that is the School Transport Contract Awards, Delegated Authority to consider a report of the Interim Deputy Chief Executive. Councillor Thomas, I believe you're taking us through this one as well.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair. The Council has a statutory duty to provide home-to-school transport for students residing in the county borough who meet the appropriate criteria. The current contract term ends in the July of 2021, required a new contract in tendering round. Due to the current pandemic and potential risk to staffing levels, there is a risk to accessing specific student data and needs. There may be a risk to timescales not being met in the process of a contract award. To mitigate such risk, delegate authority is requested to reduce any delay to timescales linked to the award of school contracts. So if I go to the recommendations, Chair, the delegated authority to allow officer award as detailed in 3.5 of this report to meet the timescales necessary for the award of home to school transport be approved. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Do I do that?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. I do apologise, colleagues. There's a slight delay for me, but thank you for that both. Okay, any questions in relation to this item?
There aren't any comments, Chair.
I can't see any, so we'll move. Thank you, Caris. We'll move on to observations or comments in relation to this item.
Again,
Mond
no,
officer, I believe I can't see any again.
no, there aren't any, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. In that case, move on to the vote then, please. Would all councillors in agreement with the recommendation please raise your hand on the screen?
And that's complete and that's carried, Chair.
Thank you, Caris. Colleagues, let's just welcome back Councillor Barry. I move on to the final agenda item number 6. And so I move on to agenda item number 6, and that is any other business deemed urgent by the Chair. Monitoring officer, if it's okay with you, I'm sure it would be deemed essential travel that I come into this evening's full council meeting due to the signal issues I have.
Yes, I don't think there should be any problem with that, Chair. I think it would definitely be better that we can hear you and see you. So I know that the mayor,
Yes.
it's in the mayor's parlour, so we'll put you in a different room. But yes, if you come in, I'm sure that'll be much easier.
Yeah, of course. I'll make sure I've got all my PPE. Colleagues, apologies for not having me visually this afternoon. I'm sure you don't mind, but I'm glad that you were able to hear me and we were able to conduct the meeting. So I have no other business deemed urgent. So thank you for your attendance this afternoon. And if you are about later, I shall see you in full council later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mitten. Diolch yn fawr.
No problem. I call the meeting to a close.